We're back today with Allison Davis, and we are already having a good time, so I'm excited about how this is going today.
When do we
Yes.
not have a good time? Let's be real.
Why do it if it's not fun? Is what I always say.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
And
That's my mantra.
it's a good mantra. I might steal it.
You can.
So, Allison, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got into what you got into?
Okay. Well, long story short, I grew up in Oklahoma, went off to college, studied TV and film production, ended up in LA as a TV producer in my 20s to 30s, and then at 35 came back to Oklahoma, got married, and now I have 5 kids. And so there's that part. Um, had 3, adopted 2 from Russia and Ethiopia.
Wow.
And
Love that.
yeah, I got into the world of natural health at about age 30 while in LA, which of course that would be the mecca of that kind of thing, right?
Good environment.
Yes, and I was actually lived in an apartment, and this acquaintance next door who was very California, she had the flowing caftans and all the potions on her kitchen counter. And one day I had an issue and I was like, irritated, and she's like, "Oh, you have to go to my TCM doctor." My father was a surgeon, so I
Mm.
was, kind of the medicalized world, grew up in that. Like most people though in America, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I said, "What's that?" And she said, "It's a traditional Chinese medicine doctor." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, okay, let's try something new." And so that was kind of my first experience in the world of natural health, that not having to get a prescription or over the counter at the drugstore, just herbs, things from the ground could help heal the body.
Mhm.
And diet, of course, which it did, and that was fantastic. So that just started my little, you know, journey into that. Moved back to Oklahoma, had my first 3 kids, and at 37, 40, 42, and then at 43, my body just kind of, immune system. I mean, having kids takes it out of your body for sure. And 3 in a row. And I don't know if later was maybe worse than earlier in that situation, maybe. But anyway, I went to my first naturopath doctor at that point because I was already on the road in this natural health world. And he did all the tests they do, and he's like, "Your adrenals are shot, your thyroid's messed up, you have too much bad bacteria in your gut, not enough good." So we started just fixing all that with herbs and supplements and diet. And so that was just a journey because every 6 weeks I was like in getting sick, just like the flu or something, because my immune system was so low, and which is 85% in your gut. So that's got to be really healthy. And I had these 3 little kids, and I'm just like, my only motivation is energy. I just need energy to do the job.
Yeah.
And so I was highly motivated, and very much about doing it naturally because I like to say, our bodies are not deficient in anything synthetic. They're just not, and sometimes we just can get in the way of the body healing. It wants to, it's designed to. So, anyway, that was sort of through my 40s. And then when I hit 50, I started thinking, okay, I need an outlet. I need to be around adult women and like get out of the house for a while. At that point, we were adopting our 5th from Ethiopia. And so I started teaching women about natural health and all of that stuff, classes online, in person. And so I did that for, 10 years. And then I turned 60. And so at those decades, like 40, 50, and 60, I really was something about, I don't know if everybody does this. As they approached, I was just real introspective, like, what am I doing with my life? Am I doing what I should be doing? Blah,
Mhm.
blah, blah. Well, at 40, I was pregnant with my second. At 50, I was adopting our 5th. I was pretty much doing what I should be doing, I thought. But at 60, everything was different. And like my big 3 were going, off, moving out, college. And I still today have 2 young ones that are going to our local community college and then high school. So I do still have two, but they're very independent. So
Mhm.
my life really changed. And I think that's a very, it's just a transformative time for women, particularly, I think, because whether you have kids, have raised them, have spent, decades, just it can be exhausting, and you're really, women are just by nature nurturers, givers, so you're just kind of just giving, 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 and you really don't have time to think that much about what else, but even if a woman doesn't have children and is in, heavy duty into a career for however, a couple of decades, 3 decades, you just get to this point where you're like restless. And that's what I was when I turned 60. I was restless. I loved what I was doing, teaching women these things, but I needed something that I could sink my teeth into, purpose, like for the next 5 to 10 years. What was that going to be? It just needed a shift, just something different. And so I thought, well, I think I'm gonna have to say yes to some things that may not be the thing, but kind of gonna get me to whatever the thing is. So I got involved. So it was about a 7 month little journey of saying yes to some things. Um, and one was well, I really love this story because it makes a great point. So I got into this online Facebook group with this guy named Jesse Itzler. Have you guys heard of him? He's an entrepreneur. His wife is Sarah Blakely, who invented Spanx,
Know
billionaire.
her. Yeah.
Yeah,
Know
go
her.
her.
Yeah.
Well, he's an entrepreneur in his own right too. He's bought and sold companies, and so he had created this calendar, a year-long calendar. I've got it up here on my wall, so you can see your whole year. And his whole thing was he wanted you to create a misogi, which is a Japanese word for a life-changing event every year. Something every year you were going to remember that was the year I did, 2021, I did this, 2022, I did this. And so I'm in this group. I didn't know anybody in it personally. They were just random people, male, female, all ages. And I was just lurking in it, kind of watching people talking, but they were all talking about really living life, like really doing these hard things. And, that Misogi could be anything. It could be hike up a certain mountain. It could be lose some weight, repair a relationship, just whatever. It could be anything. A hard thing, that you're going to remember. And so this girl pops up after I'm in this group for like 3 to 4 months. This girl pops up and says, "Hey, tomorrow I'm going to start 75 hard." Have you heard of that challenge? Yeah. And for your people, I don't know if they've heard of it, but it's a physical challenge for 75 days, kind of a mental toughness challenge. It's lots of exercise, two separate 45-minute. One has to be outside in the elements, a gallon of water, a clean diet, no alcohol, no sugar, or some sort of diet. And then you're going to read some nonfiction books too. And so you have to do that for 75 days. And I had listened to his podcast about 4 months prior because I'd come across it and I thought, no way, I can't do that. He's this big muscular guy, tattoos all over him. I'm not your target market, I'm thinking he's, okay, guys out there, whatever. And then 4 months later, this girl says this. I hadn't figured out my misogi yet. And I was like, I'm going to listen to that again, that podcast where he explains it. And I did. And I thought, I think I can do this. I think I can arrange my life to where I can do this. And it could be my misogi. And I just turned 60. It's like I was motivated. And so the only difference that I like to point this out was that it was a mindset shift. The only difference, nothing else had changed, was I was listening to people talk about doing great things in their life. And so I love that line about, we are the five people we hang out with, you
Mhm.
know, good or bad, what is the influence? Could be a podcast you listen to, but, it could be the people around you. So I was just spending some time around those people and it made me think I could do that. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, I did it and it was great. It was significant. And And then eventually that later that summer, I was doing a little meditation thing and I just kind of was like, oh my gosh, I think I'm going to write a book. Just combining the natural health with my fascination with longevity. So looking at all the studies, blue zones, but a lot of other ones too, even cancer. And then also though a plan. And as a producer, having a plan and being organized is probably like the top skill. You know, one thing I did out there in LA was a PBS series. It's 26 shows that we shot all at the same time. So we were having to do interviews with one person for shows 3, 8, 13, and 20. We were kind of shooting and editing and everything, all these shows sort of all at the same time. So it was pretty crazy. And then when I homeschooled my kids too. So
Huh.
that required that kind of like plan and organization and intention. And so I thought, I can spit all this information out. It's interesting, but there has to be a plan for people to be able to move the needle, baby step by baby step, one habit at a time. So the book I wrote is called 60 is a Good Start, and which has a double meaning. The second meaning is that it's at least 60 days to change a habit. And these habits, I've put them in under three pillars: body work, brain work, and world work, because these are all the longevity habits. They're lifestyle habits that all of these studies pretty much all say the same thing. So, and there's five in each category that you choose one or more for your 60-day dare. There's a planner that goes with the book if you need a planner to help you in it. And we have an online program too. So that's what I've been working on since 2021. The book just came out this year, and we're in the beta test right now with the online program. So, in a nutshell,
Wow.
that's that's it.
What a feat. I mean, I
Yeah.
know for me, I love hearing people's journeys, like be that personal, career, whatever, because I feel like a lot of people feel like we should do something or that we should have this clear plan moving forward. And I understand where it comes from because the first half of our life, we kind of have one, like go to school, go to
Right.
college, right? But
Yes.
then to your point, like a lot of people, when they get in that like next step in their career or like post kids or the kids are getting out of the house, like there's a identity change because you
Definitely.
spent so much time and energy in this one thing and who am I now? Same thing with
Yes.
retirement even. Um, and we don't have a plan. And I equate it to like putting a puzzle together without having the image of how the puzzle's supposed to look.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Like the only way to put that puzzle together is to like one piece at a time. You just have to try a
Yeah.
lot of different pieces because you have no idea what it's supposed to look
Yeah,
like.
life just unfolds, really. I remember people saying, well, this was my plan. My plan is to, do this job, and then I'm going to have two kids, and there's going to be a girl and a boy, and then blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, okay,
Yeah.
who knows?
You said something that like you knew you had to say yes to things to find the thing.
Right.
Where did you find that wisdom?
Gosh, I've spent a lot of, when I started teaching the natural health classes, I also started on this entrepreneurial journey. I never thought business was interesting, but I don't know. So about the time I turned 50, I became fascinated with it. And my husband is a lawyer. And so for the first 20 years of his career, once we were married, he was a solo lawyer in our small town, 50,000 people. If you're a lawyer, you do everything. You're doing family law and wills and estates and criminal and just everything. You're like the country doctor, right? But after 20 years, he realized what he really loved was business law and working with entrepreneurs because they're excited about what they're doing, right? You're still helping them with problems, but man, it was draining on some of that other stuff, like particularly family law. I think the emotional draining of that. Um, And I remember one of his worst stories was he was dealing with a divorce where they were, having to divide up all the property and they were fighting over who was going to get a certain trash can. It's just like, okay, no, we've got to do something different. So anyway, both of us at that same time, it was literally the same month, he decided he was going to build a law firm and not just be the solo lawyer, a business law firm, which now that's been 10 years ago. And I decided I was going to start teaching this stuff, but also I was learning entrepreneurship and marketing and selling and when you get into that world, it's a personal development world disguised as a business.
Yeah,
Do you
for
know
sure.
what I mean? So I went to tons of conferences and whether they were in person or online, and you are learning so much about yourself in the process. And what is it about you? You are your brand, just like you guys are, and just how do you funnel that down into something people want? Right? So I think that's where that came from, somewhere along the way, somewhere in that whole process. It's
I
been a
get
lot of
that.
years of studying it.
It makes sense to me. And
It's like therapy. It
yeah, it
really
really
is.
is. Like, I never expected to have a business myself, and COVID kind of created the circumstances. My people needed help, had to do something legal, you know,
Uh-huh.
pops up, there's a business.
Yes.
But it has been the greatest gift of self-discovery because to your
Yes.
point, like trying to describe yourself to someone as just like a friend or human being, that's its own kind of unique challenge. Trying to do it in a way that can breed a business and a brand or something bigger than you and create something more, be that an impact or a product or whatever it might be, is the single greatest challenge I continue to run into because the language is always so challenging to find. And
Hmm.
I heard this on another podcast somewhere that like everyone should treat their life like it's their own like entrepreneurial pursuit
Yes.
because you learn so many different avenues of yourself, like to your point,
Yes.
sales, marketing, etc. And like there are so many things I now understand that I did not understand before I had a business, not just how to do them, but like about how I process things, how I learn, what I need to have the energy, how to inspire myself. Like it's the greatest getting to know yourself journey I've ever gone on.
Yeah, I completely agree. And one of the under the world work pillar of the 60-day dare, one option of the five I call dream. And so there are 60 questions that if you don't know, like if you're like I was, restless, I know I need to do something different. I don't know what it is, then you would answer one of these questions every day. There's 60. So journal your answer. And I think, and those questions come from, I mean, I kept they come from my entrepreneurial journey, but which is like intertwined with just therapy, quite honestly, and personal development. And so, like, for instance, what are your core values? Businesses figure out what their core values are. People never talk about these are my top five core values.
Right.
So I really want you to find what are your core values because especially when you're at the point when you're as old as I am, I'm 64, you know, time is short. I mean, I don't want to be spending any of my time doing things that don't fall under those five core values that are just mine. They're just important to me. So, and I don't think people really look at that. So that's one area that's really an entrepreneurial thing to do. But I think it's a personal thing to do, more to the point of who am I? What's important to me? What should I be spending my time on? And I feel like half the time I'm trying to get people to say no to things. You know, that's not meant for you,
Right.
but you got to figure out, there's a lot of just self-knowledge that needs to happen, which I've always been fascinated with personality tests over the years. All those things are great.
Yeah,
And they
like
really help you figure that out.
if you were a Disney character, what Disney character would you be? Right?
I don't think I've ever answered that question.
Those are like those dorky quizzes my husband and I liked when we first started dating, just to like, I mean, they weren't at all real, obviously, but it was just like funny to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, there's so much to uncover, and in a way, it is like therapy. Alicia, when you started the spa, obviously you already had the therapy and then you brought the spa in. Did that change your entrepreneurial journey at all? Like, did you have a whole different branch you had to get to know yourself through?
I had to learn a lot for sure. I think the thing that I personally learned the most was leadership. Um, I mean, I had to learn a lot of aspects of business too, but as far as like who I am and how I operate, I think that was probably the biggest category for me was, how to be a good leader. And I think undergrad actually gave me some of the classes I took gave me somewhat of a foundation for that. Um, one of the required readings was How to Win Friends and Influence People, which
Yep.
is a fantastic book that I wish was
Yeah.
still required reading.
My husband made all our kids read that.
It's
Smart, smart.
so, but
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy to think about the cross and what you just said, Alicia, made me think about what Allison just said about like having to say yes to things to find what's right. And I don't think people think of it like that. Even if you have to say, to your point, Allison, like to say no to something, or if
Yeah.
we get negative feedback, so to
Hmm.
speak, like we're constantly learning what works and what doesn't work. And it's not just like with people either, it's how we engage in an environment, right?
For
And
sure.
why do you think it's so hard for people to explore that?
I mean, I don't know. I think there's some people that are just wired to want to explore that. They're interested in it. I would say that's me. I've been interested in personal development since I was in my early 20s. I remember going to my first seminar on it. It was like a weekend, and then there was a week-long intensive part of it, and then there was a 5-week thing that was, every once a week. And I just was always interested in it. Probably before that too. It's been so long I can't remember, but so I do think some people just are interested in it. But I have to say, I'm always sort of shocked at people that have no interest in it, because it's like, how do you even know what to kind of do? I mean, but to each his own. I mean, we all do have our purpose here, and my gosh, there's famous people out there and that have done incredible things that's just their skill, and so God bless them. And maybe they're not interested in their own personal development stuff, but so I don't know. It may be a crapshoot.
I mean, I love crapshoots too. I remember seeing
I
something.
do like to encourage people to explore it, though, to be curious,
Hmm.
especially if they're in that restless place. You really have to. And that's what counseling is going to do too. If a person needs to do that, maybe they've done it before, maybe they've never done it, maybe they have trauma they've not dealt with that should be dealt with, so
I feel like exposure has a lot to do with it, to your point, like the Facebook group and like you're the summation of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Um, and I'm curious about your opinion on this idea. I was hearing someone talk about like an information diet and how that influences longevity.
mm.
And just for context, when they were saying like information diet, like what you take in, what you expose your mind to, can also in its own way be a way of helping you understand like, yes, this is my path, or no, that's not my path. So,
Oh yeah. I mean, what goes in our eyes and ears, it's garbage in, garbage out. So, and into our senses. Let's go, and our eyes be the biggest sense, but ears too. So, what we put in our eyes and our ears. So, what we're watching, what we're listening to, and I'm not saying I don't like to binge watch a good TV series, but if it depends on where you are too. So, I definitely think if there's, negativity you're trying to overcome, then what you're putting in your eyes and ears needs to be uplifting in some way. uplifting podcast, uplifting TV, uplifting friends around you, books, whatever is coming in your eyes and ears. That's the information in because that's going to come in, it's going to settle in your heart, you're going to become those things, and then that's what's going to come out of your mouth to other people.
Definitely my experience.
Yeah, just the truth.
I have a question. So you're saying there's pillars in your book. Can you talk about the pillars a little bit more? Like when you said world, I would have never imagined that we were looking at our core values. So
Well,
about
okay, so the three pillars are called body work, brain work, and world work. And the longevity habits that all of the studies that I looked at, the blue zones, there was another guy that studied the blue zones besides the main guy, Dan Buettner. There's some huge Harvard studies and like 220,000 women in them. And then even some cancer studies of people that weren't supposed to have a good outcome, but they did have a good outcome and they assessed, felt like it was due to the lifestyle habits they changed. So they were all similar. And so I have the big five under each of those three pillars. Body work would be the physical. Okay. So what are you eating? What do you want to change for 60 days? Like we're on day 43 right now in the 60-day dare, and I'm doing two things in body work. And the first one is I'm going to eat 30 grams of protein before I eat anything else during the day. It really has been great. I think I'll do it next time too, because it sets the tone for me getting enough protein, which kind of always been hard to do for me. But so important, so critical, because we got to have muscle strength as we get older. Well, we should always have it, but certainly now. So what are you eating? Do you want to quit eating something for 60 days? Add something? That would include supplements. Just what is your diet going to look like? Are you drinking enough water, at least half your body weight in ounces? How is your movement? Are you exercising? Are you moving your body? Like 45 minutes a day would be great. Strength training, walking, whatever you do, yoga. How are you sleeping? Are you getting at least 7 to 9 hours? That's the number one thing for healing the body. That's the number one thing. But we just need good sleep too to function well. And so there's so many things you can do to help the sleep environment and all that. And then breathing, deep breathing sessions that those are important too. We don't breathe right in America. So I used to teach yoga. I guess I still sort of do, but I haven't lately. So those are the five in body work. And then brain work is the mental, emotional, spiritual. So the big five are right. So you might journal every day for 60 days. And I think this is some great for somebody that just has a ton in their brain. They just need to download it, get it out of their brain onto paper, handwritten, that's a good thing. Maybe it's somebody that does have some trauma that they just need to deal with, that they haven't dealt with, or maybe on a deeper level they need to. So again, journaling can be great and throw it away, keep it, whatever. Number two would be read. So reading uplifting nonfiction, at least like 10 pages a day, preferably in a book. We don't do that anymore, and preferably finish the book before you start another one. But something nonfiction, self improvement, could be business improvement, just something that's improving you. Number three, this is the one I'm doing right now, is called Clear. It's either decluttering your house, like 15 minutes a day. So some days I'm doing 15 minutes, other days it goes to an hour or two. It just depends on the day, if I'm busy, whatever. But, like the other day I did this top drawer on my desk. This has been a junk drawer for like 2 years. And I finally did it. That messes with you mentally. Um, and there's never, I mean, I could do this for years and I would still be working on it. Or detoxing your house. So to the natural health part, getting the chemicals out, right? The shampoo and the makeup and the skincare and the laundry detergent and the dish soap and all of those things go if they're full of chemicals, like most are, you got to look for it. That seeps into your skin, into your bloodstream, hinders your ability to be healthy. So going through that whole process, little by little, find the things, research what you're going to buy, make the purchases, get the other stuff out, all of that. Number four is meditation, prayer, or affirmations, just like a 10-minute session every day for the person that feels like that's the thing I need. And number five is create. So that would be like art making. Like for me, I love to needlepoint. So the end of the day, that's kind of my reward to do that. It's beautiful, it's art, it's heirloom quality. But there's a million things a person could do for the purpose of de-stressing. So if you're a painter and you sell your paintings, that would be in world work. This is just for the purpose of your own, just expressive, creative self. And there's a million things you could do. 30 minutes a day is my recommendation. Again, you're going to design it yourself, kind of within these parameters. Like, if you can't walk 45 minutes and you're very sedentary, maybe you start with 10 minutes. You just what you can do. So you set yourself up for success. So
Mhm.
those two categories, you're going to do those, whatever you choose, for 60 days in a row. You're trying to develop these habits. And it's 60 days because that's the minimum number of days to create a new habit. Could be up to 8 months. This is Dr. Caroline Leaf. Yeah.
If someone messes up within one of the 60 days, I know like with 75 hard, you're
You got to
like
start over. Yeah.
start. Is it the
Yeah.
same thing with the 60 days?
No, no, I mean not no. I mean there is going to be a reward. Like I'm going to do these cool medallions, but um for if you do not mess up and then you can order one of those and that'll be cool, but no, you just do what you can do.
Sure.
Know that it is going to take at least 60 days to develop a habit. And like I said, it might be more. And we're going to keep doing our 60-day dares, but um, they see that in the nerve cells in the brain, the formation of the habit. So that's Dr. Caroline Leaf that talks about that. Do you know who she is? She's
Yeah,
amazing. Yeah.
yeah, she's good.
And so
Did her
then
app thing with what she have you do, like a metacognition? Did you ever do that in her app?
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
All right, well, what metacognition is more often than not, people use it with school to understand like a topic, but it's kind of like a mind map. So if you have a harsh inner critic who tells you you're a failure all the time, okay, so
Right.
like that would be the main thought. So what are all the thoughts that are associated with being a
Hmm.
failure? What are the different associated memories and feelings? And you kind of create this map, but that's from
Okay, cool. Yeah, she's so great. And then world work, you can rotate through these during each week. You're going to do something each day, or like the dream questions, you might just do those each day because there's the 60 questions for the 60 days. But number two would be world work is about your purpose and your relationships. So number two would be engage. So certainly loneliness is a big thing, and especially for the introvert, maybe somebody who's divorced or widowed, or kids are gone, or they just live alone for whatever reason. So they're going to engage with somebody. That's not a text. That is a get together or FaceTime or, call my brother that lives across the country and I haven't talked to in a year or go to coffee, and that's a thing, for some people that's hard to call somebody and like, you want to go get some coffee, so but it's so key. In fact, the latest multiple people talking about the longevity studies lately have been like, this is the most important one, probably, is this, having a social circle, girlfriends, you know, guy friends for guys, but just some kind of social circles that, really are people you can count on, people you can really talk to, vent to, whatever. Like isn't that just key? And
awesome.
I feel like my friends lately, multiple of my girlfriends lately have been talking about how they just need that so much right now. So that's huge. Number three is gather for, and that's on the spiritual side. So one of the commonalities is that all these people were in a spiritual community of some sort. So, for me, I like once a week, so maybe that's go to church or go to some kind of spiritual gathering. It could be a small group or it could be one-on-one, but it's again with people for that purpose, discussing it, listening to it, whatever. Number four will be help. That'd be volunteering. That's a huge area that people can find purpose in. And then last one would be act. If you do know your purpose, then you're going to spend, at least an hour a day working on it.
Wow.
So,
I love that. First of all, I want to say one of my clients had a mold exposure, which I did not realize how we in Western medicine don't treat mold literally at all. So that was kind
yeah.
of interesting.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
So she, of course, ended up at a holistic doctor, and through that journey, started to do a cleaner diet and a higher protein and supplements. And she actually got off of her psychotropic medications, which was really amazing because that's hard to do. But through
Yeah,
making all of those changes, she was able to do that. So
that's great.
um, so that I wanted to throw that out there. But in
Mhm.
addition, you were just saying about identifying your values and then connecting with people. Another client that I spoke to just recently was telling me, he's finally got his first like adult job, and he was saying, I'm realizing that I don't share the same values with some of the people around me, and so I'm choosing to hang out with different people or spend my time with different people. And he's like, I just really like to be around people who have my same values. And I was like, that is so beautiful. I'm
I love it. Yeah.
so, like, for such a young
For
man.
such a young person, yes, yes. And it's hard when you're that age because I have an 19-year-old son who works at a restaurant. And, he's told me multiple times about there's certain people there and they think completely differently and it's kind of awful. So he kind of just tries to steer clear of but he loves the job. So, and most of the people are fine, but yeah, it's good, isn't it?
I really love that spiritual piece. Lauren's gonna make a face at me.
Go ahead. I'm
Oh,
waiting.
okay. There's something here.
Here. In my biopsychosocials that I do with clients, I added spirituality into it, and this was years ago because in college I'm going back to grad school now. At least we're graduating from undergrad. I took a course on spirituality and I recognized how important that is. And so when I am talking to my clients, I'm always encouraging them to at least explore their beliefs and spend some time thinking about it. I've been surprised by how many people don't think about it at all.
Mhm.
And one common thing that people will say to me too is that they can sometimes, if they don't believe in much of anything, they still feel connected to something when they're out in nature.
Mm.
Yes, for sure. Hmm.
That's but I think it's worth thinking about because from a psychology and mental health perspective, anything that you can think about that takes you out of your normal way of thinking and
Yes.
your thoughts is a good exercise. And thinking about where we came from and what
Yeah. Well,
that's
and it really comes up when you have kids because you're like, that's where it came up for me. The strongest was when I was just like, oh my gosh, what am I going to teach these kids? You got to teach them something. And, what's it going to be? And so I think in these studies, they talked about that. That was a key commonality because it was like they were able to when the road is rough, when times are really hard and whether it's something horrible's happened or whatever the thing is, that's typically when people look to that
Mm.
and find comfort and are able to sort of hand it over spiritually because we're just these little humans down here, like there's a bigger something. Right? And acknowledging that and kind of takes the load off a little bit. So I think it's a huge part of life.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I, it's funny to see the arc of the conversation because when we were talking about like what makes it hard for certain people to get into personal development, and you were talking about how like you always had an interest, And obviously that's not everyone.
Yeah.
And that definitely wasn't me. Like I remember I started as a personal trainer, so there's so many components. Like you started the conversation being like, it's really about mindset that makes a difference with this. And when we're talking about like clean gut and how that influences medicine or different illnesses, when I was a trainer and a nutrition specialist, the mindset that people would use to try and eat better was one of shame predominantly. It was always, I don't like how I am. I'm not okay as who I am. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't to gain something, it was to lose something. And
Hmm.
inevitably, they would reach their goal weight and then they would move the bar and think, oh, I just need to lose more to feel whatever it is that they wanted to feel. So I really like that you emphasize the mindset component because when we were talking about the different way of like nourishing yourself through food and even Alicia, your
Yeah.
client, like it is very healing. But if you're thinking about it in a way as this is a chore or this is taking something from me, those habits very rarely stand like the test
Test
of
of
time.
time. Yeah.
Right. And to bring it back to the component of like when do you get involved with personal development? Like I remember, I forget what year it was, but I heard Brene Brown and
Hmm.
everyone was obsessed with her. And I love her now, but I
Yeah.
remember when I first heard her, I'm like, no, not for me. And yet I was in this kind of physical development space specifically, but it was only that. And then it was my own challenges, my own struggles with suicidal ideation. And when people didn't show up for me, I went to a therapist. Thank you, therapy is dope, because
Yes.
they helped me kind of differentiate between religion and spirituality, which at the time I hadn't.
Hmm.
And a lot of people don't like the word surrender, but that's really what it is to
It,
me.
it is what it is.
And it
It is
is,
what it is. It's just that simple.
it's
Because
freedom.
again, we are just these little humans in this magnificent world and universe. My gosh. I mean, what is that?
It's
What
crazy.
is that? That's
Just like, what is that? Like, yeah, we got to surrender to that fact alone.
yes.
What I really like about the component of your book is how human it is. Like it's not saying you have to be perfect. It's not 75 hard. It's
Right.
try and add something valuable for yourself at your pace and
Yes.
build for yourself. And along
Yes.
the way, you're going to discover things.
Right, right, right. I like to say baby steps. I've been saying that forever to people I've been teaching the health stuff to, little by little by little, one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Just, one of my favorite lines is your future is hidden in your daily routine.
Mm.
And, it's like I don't know that we ask this question enough, but what do I want my life to look like a year from now, or 5 or 10 years from now? Like think in those terms. What kind of person do I want to be? I remember when I remember being 55. So this is almost 10 years ago. And I started following. Do you guys know who Chalene Johnson is?
No.
She's a, she's probably going on 60. But I found her as a business entrepreneur, online business coach person. But she's also a fitness person. She invented PiYo, that Pilates yoga combination. And so she started out as a trainer and she lives in California. I kind of related to that. And anyway, I was watching her for business reasons, but there was always the fitness piece in the background. And like I'd see her, she and her husband go to different cities and check into a hotel. And the first thing they always did when they got to a new city was find the gym, find the local gym. And I would never do that. I mean, I'm going to travel. That's not the last thing I want to go do. I want to go walk around, so that's nice. But anyway, I just remember thinking, in terms of who do I want to be like in a year, I was like, I want to be that conscious of fitness.
Mm.
Just having a fit. I don't want to be crazy, but I want to have a fit body, right? And just that I'm gonna have good mobility and good strength and all that stuff. And it took me a long time to watch her and just to little by little try kind of envelop that mindset. But I think we do have to ask that question. And so, well, what we do every day is going to lead to that thing. So that's why I like this 60-day dare. So you can pick those things, do them for 60 days, then another 60, another 60. and have some accountability. I think it's hard to do these things on our own. So whether you do it with a group of friends or online program, whatever, just get some accountability, get a friend that won't flake out on you. And so I think those are things to look at and think about.
I love the part of your story where you started thinking about business at 50 and you decided to write a book at 60. I like longevity as well. Laura and I went to a conference years ago now. Uh,
Mm.
but I went to the longevity lecture and I was very interested in what the guy was saying. It was not what I expected at all. I was
Mhm.
hoping to say you could smoke cigarettes and eat bacon forever, but anyway,
I do eat bacon.
ice cream too. Can we throw that in there? Anyway,
That's funny.
but he was talking a lot about the mindset stuff and he was talking
Mhm.
a lot about the way people talk about themselves.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, our words are huge. They're everything, honestly. Like, no, don't own a disease. I'm always, if I hear somebody say, well, my diabetes, I'm like, okay, stop right there. Do not say my.
Mm,
Don't
yeah.
don't say that. You can say the report said blah blah blah. I'm healing every day. My body. I think I believe the cells in your body hear what you're saying.
Oh, yeah.
And so to speak those words of, well, I own this disease, it's mine, it's not good. There was during my 40s when I was like dealing with my own health and, kind of get back on track. There was one point where I got there's these health affirmations. Um, they're biblical, they're verses out of the Bible, but they're put in affirmation form, like first person, like I have a calm mind, whatever. And so there was a book I read that had these 40 key verses that were all about health in and you put it in your own. She showed you how to do it, but you put them in your own words, first person. So I printed them out on cards, 8 by 11 cardstock, and I put them all on my bedroom wall. One whole wall had them all. So I woke up to them, I went to bed to them. And that was, I've always kind of known, I think that kind of speaking those words like that is important, but that really like crystallized it into where I'm just very aware of how I speak. And if I say sometimes, I'll just mistakenly say something. I'm pretty good at it now not to, but I think that's huge. And have you heard of that Dr. Is it Masaru Emoto or is it Emoto Masaru? Anyways, a Japanese scientist, you know what I'm talking about? Messages in the water.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's right there. That tells you. And our body's 70% water.
That's the
So
craziest study. To see that, like,
it's incredible.
it really, really is. And it's fascinating where we learned all these bad habits,
Uh-huh.
in all honesty. Um, but yet there's so much possibility and agency when you're just open to saying yes to things and trying
Hmm. Yeah.
without this like restriction or constraint of like how it has to be. Like when you give
Hmm.
yourself the freedom to explore, that's when you actually get to live and like discover what's actually
True.
meant to find you.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, we do have to wrap up here today.
We
I'm
do it.
very grateful that we got to meet with you today.
Be
This
fun.
actually it sounds super fun to do with your friends.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it would be something that would bond you and connect you just naturally of going through the process.
Yes.
So I love all the aspects of how you created this, and I think it's so cool.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing it with us and with our audience. And where do we find this? Is it Amazon?
Yes, Amazon, Barnes Noble, wherever you get your books. My website, which is myname.com, has the links, or just go search it on Amazon. There's a planner that you can get that goes with it if you want that. Um, so yeah, it's all ready for
Your
you.
website, is it AllisonDavis.com
It's
or
Allison McCune Davis.
oh,
I looked again recently to see if I could get AllisonDavis.com and it's $7,500. I was just like,
no
I
thanks.
don't think so. Bring that price down a little, maybe. So it's all three names. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again. I
Thank
appreciate your time. I love your journey, and
Thank you.
we'll we'll talk soon.
Okay, sounds great. Thanks.
All right. Thanks.